Hi everybody, it's John Zagrodzky, first selectman for the town of Darien. Today we're going to talk about pickleball. And the reason we're talking about pickleball is that it is enormously popular, and we've had a number of calls from folks who either want to learn how to play pickleball or just are looking for pickleball court capacity. So let's talk about that. So pickleball, it really got started in the 1960s, and it was invented by some families, I think out in Seattle, and they had some extra badminton equipment and some bored kids, and they were trying to entertain them, and so they figured out a little game to play with that, and that really was the origin of what created pickleball today. Somebody told me that it's a cross between tennis and ping pong, and so you combine those two and you get pickleball. It is enormously popular across the United States right now. It's played with a different kind of racket and a ball that's kind of like a wiffle ball, not so big like a tennis ball, but just a very, very light wiffle ball type ball that you play it with. So their sports organization called USA Pickleball, they said that just in 2022, they were adding something like 130 new locations to play pickleball in the United States every month. They need about 25,000 courts across the country to keep up with demand. And they said that something like 36 million people in the United States are playing pickleball, and that's up something like 150% just over the prior year. So bottom line, this is a hugely popular sport. It's something that older people can play, which is good news for people like me, but it's terrific and certainly is very popular. So how do the courts work? A pickleball court is much smaller than a tennis court. In fact, you could put 4 pickleball courts on one tennis court. They're that small, and they're about the size of a paddle court tennis, if you've played that, but that compact size allows for just much easier play, certainly in my case, less ball chasing, so that's a positive thing. What about pickleball courts around here? So the town of Darien actually only has 4 outdoor pickleball courts. They are over at Cherry Lawn, so let's do a quick field trip and let's take a look. Okay, here we are at Cherry Lawn, and we're going to take a look at the pickleball courts that we have set up. The weather is not great today, but it gave me an excuse to wear my exceptionally cool hat, which I think you all agree is very cool. But as I said, these 4 pickleball courts were built on a single older tennis court, and you can see where the middle fence is. That's where the regular tennis net would be, and you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 pickleball courts here. When the weather is nice outside in the spring, summer, and fall, this place is packed. It's very tough to get time on these courts because it's so popular, and there's lots of folks sitting on these benches waiting, and so that's just one more reason why we really do need to add pickleball court capacity. But thanks for coming to Cherry Lawn. Okay, so you've seen the 4 pickleball courts over at Cherry Lawn. In addition, we've got 2 pickleball courts, I think, over at the gymnasium here in Town Hall, but they're not great, and they're used mostly for lessons. But for the 4 courts that we do have, there was an online registration system that Parks and Rec created. There will be a link for that at the end of this video, but basically you go online and you can reserve pickleball courts for play. It's $20 to play for up to 90 minutes, and then you got to give it up for someone else to play. Outside of Darien on the courts that I mentioned, other places that you could play, the YMCA over on the Post Road, they have courts. Obviously you need to be a member though there to play. And at the country clubs, there's a couple of them I think that have got lines on some of their tennis courts, but quick research with those guys says that none of them really have any major plans to put in big pickleball court investments. There are also some pickleball courts outside of Darien, so if you go to the Stamford Town Center over there on Broad Street in Grey Rock, that old mall, I think they repurposed the Saks department store there into pickleball courts. It's run by an outfit called Pickleball America, and it's very nice. It's all indoor. They have 28 courts, all brand new. It looks terrific. You have to be a member though to play there, and it's $200 a year, and I think $67 per hour of play. So if you reserve a court there, that's what that cost is. Norwalk is also building some courts. They've added some to the Roe Aiden Elementary School site, and they've put 8 or 9 courts at the Ludlow Park area and at their senior center. So both towns are trying to build pickleball court capacity, but a lot of what's being put in is expensive. You got to pay for it. one thing's for sure, it is popular in Darien. We had 618 people who've asked about lessons for pickleball just since January of last year. And in the online reservation system I mentioned, we had 2,800 reservations just since last May, and that equates to about 5,200 hours of pickleball court play. So this is very popular and lots of demand. So what are we doing to maybe set up some more pickleball court capacity here in Darien? So the Parks and Rec Commission, chaired by Lori Bora, she has set up a subcommittee to focus on pickleball. And it's that committee or subcommittee is chaired by my good friend Jim Farrell. Jim has convened a number of folks, all of them play pickleball of course, to think about what we could do to add capacity. So there are a couple of challenges. The first one is that if you play pickleball with this odd little ball it has, it makes a very high-pitched noise when you hit the ball. It's a very high-pitched whack. And because it's high-pitched like that, the sound carries a lot more than it does with the duller sound that you get with, say, a tennis or a paddleball court. And as a result, it penetrates. And so we've had some complaints from neighbors who have pickleball courts near their homes, and it's just a click, 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 click of that play can get annoying. And so it just means that it's hard to place pickleball courts near a lot of residences. The second issue is that we talked about putting lines on tennis courts. There's a lot of resistance to that because by having all those lines, it kind of confuses play for both players of both sports. We had 3 older courts, tennis courts at Cherry Lawn nearby where the ones are that I showed you. They had pickleball lines on those courts, but when we rebuilt the courts, the tennis community pushed back and Parks and Rec decided not to put pickleball lines on those courts, so they're just tennis courts right now. That said, there are some options. So one option is paddle courts themselves. So over at Weed Beach, we have 5 town courts there. We're about to add a 6th court. It turns out there are companies that make these platforms that piece together that you can put down on top of a paddle court and turn it into a pickleball court. And because the courts are the same size, we're going to look into that option. You could use paddle courts outside the winter paddle court season. If we put these sort of pads on those courts, turn them into pickleball, those could be pickleball courts off-season for paddle tennis. So that's a potential idea. Another one is we could build new courts. There is a flat space that's outside of the tennis courts and paddle courts at Weed Beach where we could put in some tennis or pickleball courts. The committee is going to look at that. There's no specific plans for that, but it would be a good spot, I think, far enough away from residences that it could work. And then finally, just revisiting the idea of lines on tennis courts. It's controversial. We certainly know there's lots of disagreement about that, but I know the committee is going to take one more careful look at that and see if there might be some potential there that we could exploit for new capacity. So bottom line, pickleball is really popular here in Darien. We hear you. We are working on trying to create some capacity options that make sense and don't disturb either players of tennis or residents too much. But again, it feels like something we should invest in and create capacity. I love the idea that it gives ways for people to get out and move around and play sports when maybe they couldn't because of physical limitations. But pickleball is terrific, and I hope we can make some investments that will bring new capacity to town. So stay tuned to this channel for more information. Thanks for listening.